Hey everybody, it's Alicia, your Mortgage Millions mentor. Welcome, welcome. We're just waiting for a couple more people to jump on the call, but we want to talk about today what we're going to be addressing is how to generate realtor leads using surveys and social media, and we're going to be going over how to recession-proof your business with this new tool that we have. So for those of you who have the app, that's fantastic. For those of you who don't, you'll have an option to test drive it today. And again, most of these things you can do anyway. We're just showing you the app because it makes it super simple. It's the easy button, right? Why recreate the wheel if it's already all done for you? So I just want to see right now if everybody could put a 1 in the chat. Just let me know. Hey, Rocco, do we have to unmute you?
I am able to unmute myself.
So everybody looks like everybody can hear us. That's fantastic. We want to talk today about how to recession-proof your business. So thanks for everybody for putting a 1 in there if you can hear us. My next question is going to be, how many of you have a steady pipeline of loans right now? Put in a 1 if that's the case. Otherwise, if you need some help, put in a 2, please.
Yeah, I'm curious there. It's like everybody's loaded up. Greg, 1 and 2.
Well, and also, who wouldn't want more deals, right? I mean, this is definitely the year that is going to separate the professionals who want to do this for a living from the people who got in on a whim. That's for sure. I also think this is the year that you're going to see a lot of realtor challenges. So for those of you who haven't heard, 200,000 realtors, new licensees signed up last year to be realtors. The anticipation is that 300,000 are going to leave. So one of the things I love about this app is it makes it super easy to identify who you want to work with. You know, I like to say, let's date before we get married, date the realtor and build trust with them and figure out how to get them curious. Rocco's going to go through that. And really, you will see quite quickly who the professionals are and who you want to work with. And I think one of the biggest game changers is not only is this really the year that's almost over, for goodness sake, but really the year where you're going to see the professionals stand out from the order takers. There's no doubt about it. And what I love is the science behind the sales in the app that really helps you stand out as a true professional above and beyond. The days of calling realtors and asking them, you know, bugging them, calling them every Monday for weeks and weeks until they, you know, give in and have coffee with you to get a deal are done. That's just, it hasn't worked in years. It's not working right now. And the reality is realtors need people and professional loan officers and referral partners such as yourselves that are going to act like professionals and build true relationships with them and not just bug them to give them a deal. And again, one more thing I love about the app is that's what it's all about. And with that, I'll introduce Rocco. Rocco is one of my business partners. He is, I will say, so brilliant. We did a whole series of the science behind the sales and worked together to put together this app. And again, you can do this on your own, right? Take notes and use the app, or take notes and don't use the app. But there's no easier way to do it than the app. Like you could copy this, you know, and write and take notes, and that's awesome. But why would you do that when it's all done for you? And with that, I'll give you guys Rocco.
Awesome to be with everybody. Glad I'm invited back again, Alicia. I love the opportunity to spend some time with you, always just in conversation as well, having an opportunity to talk to your community. And I know the industry only well enough to be connected with an expert like yourself. So you all have to forgive me for not being nearly as educated and skilled of you all, but I do have a background in sales and marketing, specifically prospecting. And I am 100% sure that most of you would agree with this, that the result of an empty pipeline is directly correlated to the prospecting activities that we do or we don't do. And, you know, I was
We
reading,
like it or not.
yeah, I mean, it's just part of the world that we live in. And that's what I want to talk about before we even get into the app, because Alicia said that, you know, one of the things, my goal is always, if I can show up on a call like this with people that are hungry to grow their business, you should be able to get some value and a takeaway from information here that we could share with you. Regardless if you choose to grease the skids a little bit with this app. Okay. Because what I know is there are tools out there that can probably be very dynamic for you. Alicia's created something brilliant. There's no doubt about it. We've seen the results from other people that are having success with it. And she continues to put the right information in there to help some of this stuff go easy. But the truth of the matter is, just giving you a tool is not going to help you become a better prospector. But if you can become a better prospector first, having the tool is going to allow you to really grease those skids and go at a level to where you would all be putting in a 1 instead of a 2 in there to fill up your pipeline. So you got to remember a couple of things when it comes to outreach. The first thing, I was actually reading, maybe some of you have read Daniel Pink's book Drive, and it's just one of those books on, you know, internal versus external rewards and the things that make us get out of bed in the morning and that we get excited about. Well, unfortunately for us as human beings, when it comes to prospecting, that's not one of those activities that we get excited to do every day. Maybe some of you, if you have some, you know, some drive to do that, that's great. But the truth of the matter is, it's not because it's ditch digging work. To some degree, maybe it can be perceived that way. But the reason why is because it's very mundane. It's being willing to do the same thing over and over again with fanatical consistency. And that really is not something that we as human beings like to do. We like to be creative. We like to, you know, to even to sell. I would 1000% guarantee that you would love to do a sales presentation on your loan products before going out and doing the prospecting activities to even get to that point. So what I want to share with you first and foremost, before we get into some of this, is that you do not have to prospect 6 to 8 hours a day in order to fill up your pipeline. That should be the good news. And you know, you probably don't have time to do that, considering everything else that has to happen with processing, following up with everything that's going on in your deals and that sort of thing. However, if you can give yourself permission to master the mundane for 45 to 50 minutes a day of being able to reach out to a minimum of 5, but maybe 10 realtors that are starting to get introduced to the value that you can provide them. We'll talk about how to do that in a second, right? But if you can just first commit to just knowing that, like, yes, this is going to be, it's going to be more boring than hard, right? And it should be okay for us to do that if we know that the outcome is going to lead us to what we're really trying to achieve, right? And that's that higher purpose there, that thing that you're after for your higher commissions, more deals, being more established in the business, whatever the case may be. You're going to get the credibility from there by doing some of the more boring activities in the beginning. But the person that can sit there and mentally and just say, hey, and remember this, the doctor never said eat 30 apples in a day, right? He said eat 1 a day. That's all we need to do here. Our prospecting, we've got to give ourselves a block of time every day to reach out to a handful of people. And I know we're here to talk about realtors, but you can do this with a client. It doesn't matter, right? So some of this stuff where it's somewhat generic in the space of building a pipeline around, the easy button is through realtors, because that's the gift that keeps on giving to some degree. And they can give you multiple opportunities at the right time, maybe versus a client's direct client, maybe once every couple of years, whatever the case may be. So that being said, when it comes to prospecting, there's things that we can do. There's what's called cold outreach. And then of course, there's also talking to people that we already know to some degree. And there's a difference between the two, and we'll talk about that. But what are we doing when we prospect? I want you, if any of you are taking notes, just jot this down. Think about what your goal is when you're reaching out to somebody. First and foremost, be great to set an appointment, right? That would be fantastic if you could just reach out to 5 people a day and 4 of them be like, sure, I can't wait to meet with you tomorrow. Greg, Tin, Elliot, whoever. I'm reading all the names on there. I can't see any faces, but the reality is that that's not how things are going to pan out for us in just about anything when we're trying to introduce an idea and establish ourselves in a marketplace somewhere. Instead, what's going to wind up happening is that we have to think about the second best part of prospecting. What's the second reward that we get from it? It allows us to gather intel about who we want to do business with. having and Alicia, I'll let you speak to this for a moment, but having a big giant list of 5,000 realtors that don't do any business, but they're happy to talk to us is not a good use of our time prospecting, right?
Absolutely.
So the prospecting process is what you have to think about it. It's not so much as is you gathering this huge, it's a sorting process for you to unqualify those that are not the right fit or not going to be able to help you grow your business, right? And that kind of reverses your psychology a little of how you can look at it. Just be like, okay, well, I am prospecting. Yes, I would love to set an appointment. That's perfect. And that will happen sometimes just by accident. Other times, though, we're looking to gather intel so you can start to narrow the list of people you're going to focus on and also learn about what their tendencies are, what they like and what they don't like. And that's where that survey starts to come into play, Alicia, which we'll talk about. But then the third thing here, and this is the part that everybody kind of quits before they actually get to receive the fruits of their effort, is building familiarity. The notion of it takes somebody a substantial amount of times before they decide to buy, join, meet, or any of that sort of stuff. It's one of those things where we don't feel like that we have that kind of bandwidth to do, right? But you know, it's a process to go through, and you say, well, when, you know, maybe it's too late for me to start that process now. I need deals right away. There's no way this is the shortcut to the shortcut. I can promise you, right? And all the stuff out there, over automations, buying leads, this and that, fine, participate in that. You take company leads if they're going to give them to you, but you can build such a wealth of your own customer base and referral business by doing the thing that, maybe we should have planted the tree 100 years ago, but it will not hurt to plant it today and get started with it and water in that process. So building familiarity with credible messages and looking to add value and help other people. And look, I'm not saying anything that everybody doesn't know here. I think sometimes I need to be reminded on a regular basis. I'm sure you do, Alicia. So hopefully we can do a little bit of that as we start to think about how we're going to attack the marketplace and be able to succeed. We're going to move. I'm going to screen share the app here in a couple minutes, and just not for the purposes of demoing anything to you all. This is about giving you a pathway to do some of this stuff. And I want you to think about yourselves as being influential, a persuader, if you will, right? And there are certain methods of persuasion. There's different levers that we can pull on that we've kind of analyzed out and went through for you specifically to be able to take advantage of something like this in your industry. And at different times, those levers are going to be more important than at other times, meaning that there's a lever of influence called scarcity. And scarcity is a way to move somebody to a call to action, right? Now, if I cut right to that lever because I need to get a deal this month and I start trying to pull on that lever, it does me no good. It does me no good to try and prospect to Alicia and say to her, hey, rates are going up now, or home values are crap, whatever the alarm that I'm sounding is. If I haven't done the initial steps first that allow me to earn the right to even message her like that. So if you take a step above that and all the way back to the beginning, what I want to walk you through today is 3 different methods that we should be working on when it comes to influence and persuading people, and those levers that we can pull on within there. And the app is laid out in a way for you now. We've reorganized and structured some of the resources in there. And I'm going to walk you through it just more for an education. And what Alicia said is true. If you take some notes and you execute on a few of these ideas with fanatical consistency every single day, whether you use the app or not, you're going to see results. What I'd like to do is, why I'm pulling that up on the screen, is the same way we had some folks put in some messages, and I see Aaron Davis, brand new, welcome to a fabulous industry, and you got a great mentor here if you're listening to Alicia. But do all of you have a consistent approach to that prospecting strategy every single day? Because what I see, and put in a 1 if you do, a 2 if you don't, but here's what I see a lot of the times. There's a divide between prospecting and sales, right? There's a line. And I think that you are all probably extremely competent when you get past that level of prospecting and sales. Remember, prospecting is trying to get somebody to a commitment of time. Getting somebody through a sale is getting a commitment of their resources. So I'm just making the assumption here, and I could be wrong, because some organizations do divide that up. But for somebody who's responsible for being their own rainmaker, and you need to be out there shaking hands and kissing babies, you have to wear both of those hats and know when you're doing one and not the other. But the thing is, that line above qualification, where once you get somebody qualified to a certain level, right, Alicia, and you can, again, I'm just generalizing things, so you tell me, but we move into a spot where we are now in a sales cycle with somebody. But everything that we did above that line above there where it's prospecting, what I've seen over and over again is that people have, it's like the Wild West above that line. Every week, every day, every hour.
People don't have a consistent process or a system to do it.
A methodology, right? I mean, and that's the thing, is that, so we are constantly saying, oh, with this, wait, I'm going to try this week. I heard this on Alicia's call. let me go and try this week. So I'm saying, even if, like, you went to another call or listen to some other, I mean, just do something consistently is the first point that I want to make, and results are going to happen. They might not be the ones you want, but at least you're going to have some empirical evidence, right? Everybody's probably heard the story of those old well pumps, right? Where you have to keep pumping the handle and pumping the handle and pumping the handle. When you eventually get to a point where the water starts to come out, it's the momentum just takes over on its own, and you don't have to consistently do that anymore. But what happens with those people above that line that I'm talking about when it comes to their prospecting, they pump it like 10 times, and they ain't no darn water yet, right? And then they go to another well and try that. And then they take a day or two off. And then before they know it, it's the end of the month or whatever the case may be. And all those hours, even if you did decide to bite 30 out or eat 30 apples in that one day, it's not going to change the results of your pipeline at that point. And then you will be burnout, and you'll rinse and repeat that cycle over again. So we have to avoid that. Like, we have to consider ourselves to be willing to invest in our own future enough to say, we are going to become prospectors in the sense of 45 minutes to an hour a day. And look, if you can do 2 to 3 hours a day, you're going to be so busy that you won't be able to handle it anymore, right? That's for sure. I'm blabbing a bunch here, gang, but I'm trying to set the stage for this for the right reason, I promise. The other thing is, in the beginning, right? Like, I am never going to be as good at something today as I will be at it in a week from now if I stay consistent with it. Right? I hope that makes sense, that, there's a ratio is going to appear, like as Jim Rohn, like, do something long enough, a ratio is going to appear, right? And that is certainly true. But the power of what we're trying to talk about here today is that you can absolutely get better when it comes to that call to action. If your call to action is to sit down and have a cup of coffee with that realtor, if it's for them to meet with you on Zoom, if it's for them to commit to them being your go-to mortgage person, whatever that call to action that we move to is, I can promise you, with the consistent activity, you're going to increase the quality of the exposures that you make and the quantity of exposures that you make. Exposures when you're out there prospecting to these folks, you're going to gain confidence and you're going to get better. So that's, the upshot of it is, even if you didn't get better, but you just stayed consistent for 45 minutes a day, you're going to have a full pipeline. It's guaranteed. But the upshot is, we get smarter and better at what we do. And so that's why I'm saying, even if you don't use the app, that stuff is you're still going to grow your business the way that you want to. All we're suggesting here is that with this app, it's going to allow you to get better faster, because you get look, if I could have Michael Jordan come into the gym and teach me how to shoot, that I'd sign up for that any day of the week. And Alicia, she's literally written the book, multiple books now, on how to do this the right way. And when, we were constructing all of this for you, that was one of the biggest things that she had to, make sure, is like, how can we transfer, not just in a written fashion where we're reading a book, like, how can we actually embody Alicia inside each and every one of you in those prospecting activities so you could grow faster. So Alicia, why I bring up my screen, I need you to just kind of jump in for a second. It'll take me about 30 seconds to get this.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, let's just call it what it is. No one likes to prospect, right? And one of the things that I hear a lot right now from my coaching clients is call reluctance. And there are ways to get over that for sure. But again, this is the easy button. What Rocco's going to demo for you guys right now is everything's already pre-written, right? And the bottom line is you're going to text, message, either direct message on social media or text, and there's no fake number. It comes right from your phone with your real number. And if you get a response, great. And if you don't, no harm, no foul, right? You just walk through the sequence. It's completely gamified. And it's designed to get results.
Let's not anybody lost, Alicia. I have to cut you off and make you give me some capacity to screen share because I'm used to being on.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you
My bad.
You downgraded me.
I didn't mean to. Sorry, my friend.
That's all right.
Where are you? I can't even. Here we go. I don't even see you on the. Hang on. Let's see. Oops, hang on. There we go.
Okay.
You're a co-host.
Fantastic. All right. So let me do this. So we should be looking at the dashboard here of an app. Maybe none of you have saw this, and I don't even want to focus on anything except for what I'm going to share with you all from training here as I navigate around here on a little bit, and then we can talk to you a little bit how to give this thing a test drive at the end. But I'm going to move over into what we call the resource category of the app. If I tap on the More button down in the lower right-hand corner, we have built what we call manual funnels in here. And what a manual funnel is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's you actually moving the prospect through your steps, right? And whatever that end call to action is. And ultimately, for something like this to work, there are people have this whole idea of like, man, I'm either going to do something analog or digital. And people start thinking analog is so far left behind, which it is. But what we're going to show you here is to show up in a digital world with still the fundamentals of what it takes to do well in your business, which is build a relationship with people, strengthen your relationships with people. So there's not a ton of over automations in here. There is some follow-up tools that you can automate here. But I want to go back to what I was sharing with y'all before. So focus on the influence and being a persuader. And what I write this down, there are 3 stages that you should be thinking about in persuading somebody. Like it should be that we are either looking to strengthen relationships with somebody. It should be once we have a strong enough relationship with them, we should work on establishing credibility or lowering resistance from them wanting to do business with us. And then down into the last one is moving somebody to a call to action. And what I was telling you before is that too many people jump right down to call to action and violate the other 2 principles above that, right? Now, when I think about your relationships, I want you to know this. And again, I know you can go out and you don't need to actually use your internal network to build your realtor list, because I know you can find them on Zillow, the web, and everywhere else where you want to harvest your database from. But inside your phone right now, you have 200 contacts. You have probably on average on average, I'm just, 300 Facebook friends, 700 LinkedIn connections, a couple hundred Twitter and Instagram followers. That's what the average person has these days. 2,000 people is our average marketable universe that we all have. And of course, not all of those people in my network are realtors. Probably the vast majority of them are not. And same for you. But even if I didn't have access to a database of realtors that I targeted specifically, right, I could still use a process in here to get and build a database quicker than somebody who's just trying to over automate people and they don't have a strategic process to what they're doing. And I'd be willing to bet paychecks that I could outproduce and outgain the call to actions than anybody else who's going a bit different methodology. So what I want you to think about first is that when it comes to building relationships, why is that so important before getting to establishing credibility with somebody? My sister knows who I am. I don't need to necessarily establish a relationship with my sister, Alicia, but she might think I'm a crappy business person, right? So if I already have a relationship with somebody, and this being a manual funnel and not an automated funnel, I could skip that step, right? And now I need to work on, okay, my sister knows who I am, but I forget whoever signed in saying they were brand new. Well, you might have a tough time going to your family member, getting them to trust you with a couple $100,000 loan, right? Because you're brand new. However, if you were able to establish credibility or lower resistance from them and they start to think that you're qualified to be able to help them, then after that, then you can start to maybe move people to a call to action, right? So it's logical to do this thing in steps, okay? So again, don't worry about the other ones. Just worry about the ones on here for right now that say strengthen relationships, establish credibility, and call to action. Those are probably the only three we're going to talk about here today. Now, when it comes to strengthening relationships with people, remember I talked about those levers of influence, right? Based on strengthening relationships, there are 2 levers of influence that you can pull on, okay? And they're set up here in the app, but you can still take notes and you can just build this in for your own way of going out and prospecting. You can strengthen relationships with people first by number 1 of getting people to like you, right? I mean, if
Yeah,
I
I
can
mean,
get
even if
somebody,
you go back, I was in BNI for years and I used it several times to rebuild my business when I moved to a new location. And the Ivan Meisner is a genius. Know me, like me, use me, right? Work with me, not use
yeah,
me, but you know what I'm saying, right? Know me.
yeah, of course.
This
So
is basic prospecting and people skip it and they just go and call the realtor and ask them for their business, which good that you have chutzpah, right? But the bottom line is that doesn't work, right? It's just like Rocco's saying, it's breaking all the rules, and the rules are in place because that's the way humans are,
yeah,
right?
when you get your own planet, you could set it up how you want to.
Good point. Good point.
So look, how do we that lever for getting somebody to like us? Look, if I pay somebody a compliment, there's a pretty strong chance that they're going to have a tendency to have better feelings towards me than, all things being equal, twin brother, grown up, same philosophies, everything else. If I just paid the person a compliment and my doppelganger or other person didn't do that, the tendency is going to lean them towards me, right? And the person doesn't even know that's why. They're not going to come out and say, oh, well, that person paid me a compliment, so I like him better. We think we're too smart for that as human beings. But I'm telling you, psychologically, that stuff is so in play. So if I wanted to reach out, now look, you have, oops, what's happened to me there? Sorry about that. Tap the wrong button. So you have in here, if I tap on this compliment messages, we've identified a handful of different categories of clients that you might potentially want to reach out and compliment, or contacts. I shouldn't say clients, right? One of them is certainly going to be referral sources for realtors. Now, if you have one of those realtors that you want to reach out to, in here, if I just tap on where it says realtors, you say, look, this message, it's telling you what this message is for. It's designed to strengthen the relationship with the realtor because people like other people who pay them compliments. Now, for us to send out a message to a realtor, I'll show you how to do that here from the app, but I want you to see what the message looks like more than anything else. So I tap the preview button. And if I had you, Anne-Marie, loaded in here as a contact and you were a realtor that I wanted to reach out to you, and I had you in as a contact, I would say, hello, Anne-Marie. I'm just sending you a quick note to let you know that I'm grateful to be connected with a high caliber agent like you. Let me know if I could ever be of assistance professionally or personally. Thanks. All right. We did not try and tell them how great of a mortgage rep we are. We did not try and book a meeting with them. We are trying to establish a relationship with that contact at this point. And remember what I said before about building familiarity. This is definitely one of those steps that you're taking to be able to increase the odds that later on that person is going to be, if you're doing enough of this and you're sincere about what you're doing, you're going to get your foot in your door more times than the person who's not doing it. It's just a fact of life. Now, the way that you would deliver it from the app, it's, the thing that makes this so easy for you is the messages are pre-baked for you. And also you have the way to deliver that message. If I tap on the button there, I can email it here from the app. If I have their email address, I could text it to them, or I can share it to them on any social media channel I want to. Maybe I want to send it to them on Instagram or LinkedIn Messenger. So getting them the information in the channel where they like to receive messages at is very important. That's another talk for another day. I'm trying to get you guys just in the right mindset here for some of this. So when it comes to reaching out, that's one lever of influence when we're strengthening relationships. But there's another level of influence here at play in strengthening relationships, and it's called the law of reciprocation. And anytime, I can promise you this, and we'll preview this here as well so you can see. We'll go down to realtors, right? And I say, this message and resource help induce a realtor to comply with a future request. Read this with me. Reply with a future request because of the value that we're providing now. And the rule of reciprocation requires that one person repays an equal or more value than what another person has already provided for them. And we know this to be true, right? We return favors in kind. It's the way that we have grown as a society, because in our earliest stages of development, there was, monetization didn't exist. Everything was bartered on trade and what value could we bring to our communities. And people do a lot to stay consistent with their words, and people will always try and look. I've heard stories of, like, when the Girl Scouts come, they sometimes will say, "Hey, would you like to donate $2,000 to the Girl Scouts?" Everyone's like, "No, I wouldn't like to do that." "Well, would you buy a box of cookies for $1 then?" And you're overpaying for things all the time and returning favors for people, because we always have this sense of being in debt for people. So my point in sharing that with you is, in getting somebody to strengthen a relationship with them, if you are to deliver something of value, an item of value to them, that's just as good as getting them to like you. But if you do both, that's really putting you in the winner's circle, right? So what is in this app to take care of something like that for a realtor, for example, and I'll show you a preview of the message, is we put some content in here, and we'll update this regularly and make this even easier, but you might have some stuff on your own. But we're trying to say to a realtor, hey, look, now that the Fed has signaled more rate hikes are likely in the near future, I wanted to share some insights as to what insider experts are saying about the real estate and mortgage industry now. And there's an article link in there, and we send it over to them. Now, the neat thing about articles and things like that we send out from the app, when the realtor clicks on it, the app sends us a push notify, right? And that whole thing about sorting and who's interested and who's not, this is where some of that stuff starts to get easier. But even if you're not using this tool to do that, the point is, when you get this type of resource into their hands, it's not something that you're crafting that's saying, hey, look at me, here's all the reasons why you should do business with me. What you're sharing with something that's relevant to their world. Like, you are a problem solver for them. And that's what you're starting to point out things. If you can see something that could affect their business, you'll be like, hey, I just want you to have this. Now, if they see that value, and later on you then ask them to take time to meet with you, and you don't do that the next day, right? You're going to have a high chance where they have that same sense of obligation. They're going to reciprocate the value, even if they don't know if they have anything, or if you're maybe not up to their level of where they think they should be at. They're like, well, I've got to do this because Alicia's been over delivering. She's been sending me some things that I've definitely got some value from. But also, you get to look like a winner in her eyes by delivering that type of information. So again, we're focused on the realtor stuff now, but those levers of influence, it doesn't matter what category of contact that you're prospecting towards. You get somebody to when you're working on building a relationship with somebody, the two levers that you can pull on is using the principle of liking, getting somebody to like you, and as well as being able to provide value that later on they will reciprocate to, right? And we can all figure out a way to add more value to everybody's life, but Alicia's loaded this thing and gotten that done for you. So before I move off of that, we're going to move. Alicia, I want to drag you back into the conversation here, because once we start, and again, you might be able to skip this step. I want you to know that if you are targeting a list of realtors, if you have 300 of them on your list, you might already be talking to 30 or 40 of them. You're like, well, I don't need to do that because I've already got this. We're already that tight, right? And then you might even say, well, they've already done business with me, and I've already established credibility, right? Well, then you are probably the person who put number one in the beginning when Alicia said, who already has a full pipeline. And if that's not you, and you feel like you have some of those people, then fill it up more and try a new strategy to deploy, because you are going to sort out and qualify these, and you'll see as we get to go. So Alicia, I'm going to move into how we this bucket for established credibility. You all can think of it as just think about somebody of like, why would I even care? I think it was the young lady that said she was brand new in the business, or maybe it was a gentleman in there. Okay.
Aaron said she was new.
Okay. So this one's for you, Aaron, because the way that you can establish credibility doesn't have to be by utilizing your own experience, right? What I mean by that is that you can lean on other things, other areas of expertise that you can associate yourself with. So if I tap on this established credibility, again, this is somebody who maybe I'm use my sister as an example. And I'm in the business. I'm brand new. She's like, no way. You don't know anything. You're green as it comes. You're going to mess up my whole life if I let you start planning my mortgage financing. Right. So then I might say, okay, well, how can I induce her to have credibility in me? And I could do that through social proof and authority. And what might be coming to your mind, these are the next two levers of influence, social proof and authority. And what might be coming to your mind is that the social proof is, hey, I've got a bunch of people and testimonies that did this. Or in the authority might be like, I wrote the best-selling book like Alicia, right? That's not necessarily what you have to do. But if you align yourself with somebody like Alicia, right, now all of a sudden you get her credibility, and that's authority for you because you're associated with her. When it comes to social proof, it doesn't always mean testimonials. Watch, I'll show you this here in a second. Sometimes it comes down to being able to point out problems that everybody as a whole marketplace deals with, right? So again, I'll tap on the realtors button there so you can see what this particular level of influence is about. It says this message and resource is designed to show how social proof of the offer. And when people are unsure, they are more likely to adhere to the actions of others and to accept those actions as being correct. And so here's the message. And maybe some of you that have seen the app before, this is a repurposed lead magnet that we've been using with people having a lot of success with. So, hey, Alicia, keep your clients happier by making good referrals. Did you realize 72% of mortgage applicants are dissatisfied with their lender? Check out the details here. And look, I take pride in customer satisfaction, so please keep you in mind for future referrals, right? As always, I can let me know if I can ever be of assistance. Now that article, again, we're not going to open all these articles up and go through them. You can do that in the app and you can go get your own resource to be able to share. But the reason why this is providing social proof, it's reversing it. It's not you getting testimonies. It's you saying that 7 out of 10 people using somebody else had a bad experience, right? And that is backed up. So Aaron, if you get your hands on an article like this, you could say to your family and friends, well, go use somebody else. 7 out of 10 times, you're going to be disappointed anyway, right? That's basically what it's saying. So they're basically playing Russian roulette and the odds are not in their favor, right? But if you've built if you do have that relationship with them, you say, okay, now I'm telling you, you can go and do that if you want, but let me tell you why it should be better with me. How can you link up to having somebody else's authority? And I'll tap on that so we can see what the descriptor there for it says. So if I go down to realtors, when the same thing, this message and resource, again, to show authority validating your offer, people often react, all of us do, right? So I'm not just saying, hey, this is, we don't know we do this. It subconsciously happens where we react in automatic fashions to things to where someone's deemed as an authority or highly informed on a particular topic, right? So somebody could just be a good talker, but if they seem credible and they've established themselves, that's how people fall for scams. It happens all the time. It happens to my father-in-law. And I'm just like, isn't that a guy on TV? Like it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't buy from that dude, So the resource here, but check this out, without us happening to be in the source of authority.
Real quick, I'm just going to jump in for a minute, Rocco.
Sure.
Because actually Greg asked the question, is specific to realtors, it can be used to prospect others. So like you're saying right now, financial planners and CPAs, you could send these last two things that Rocco shared and then easily. And I mean, they're designed specifically for the realtors, but you can switch that up. And you also have the ability to edit the actual text that's being sent. So you could change the message with it. And then I wanted to open up if Erin looked like she had her hand raised. So
just real quick though, and I'm not to cut you off, but Greg, so there's 4 categories. I'm just picking on realtors because it's really a big part of what you should be doing. But we put content and messaging in here for each one of these areas of persuasion and levers of influence. That's why it says client prospects, existing clients, and then which Alicia was talking about for potential people that can refer your business, accountants or whoever else. That's what this one is down here where it says referral sources, right? So you have four category contact categories in here where the same content can be repurposed, but the messaging is slightly altered, tailored to that person. And like Alicia said, you can change up the wording if you don't like the copy that's in there. What I have found, by the way, gang, I hate being not being able to do something. Like if we built this and said, hey, you have to use the message that's in here, or don't use it at all, I would feel a little too restricted, right? But just knowing, but if I know that I have the ability to change the message, all I want to do is know that I can change the message if I want to. But most of the time, I'll still wind up using the message that the expert built for me, was what Alicia did. So you can change the message, but I'm going to tell you that, like, you probably won't do it because again, you got Michael Jordan, you're using her words, but it's totally up to you. All right. So do you want to bring in Erin for a question there, or
Yeah, I just didn't know if Erin had a question. Her hand was raised. So,
yeah,
okay.
I was just giving y'all a thumbs up that I was listening and that I was liking it.
okay, good.
All right. That's just as good, Erin. We'll take those all day. All right. So Erin, check this out while you're listening and liking it. When it comes to this authority, right, for these realtors, I go back to this message again. You know, Inman, I knew nothing about until Alicia started talking about it. This is one of the most credible real estate research companies in the country. And basically, they're the authority, right? And by you sharing a message like this to a realtor, like, hey, according to Inman, the real estate and mortgage industry, they're going to need each other more than ever if the market continues to shift like this. And this article provides insights on what top agents look for in a lender partner and how they leverage those to grow their business. You don't think a realtor wants to read that article? And they are associating themselves, Erin, with you now. Erin, oh my God, Erin studies Inman. You're now garnering the authority of Inman with you being brand new in the business, versus maybe somebody out there who's been in the business for 20 years and is just trying to go off their own street cred, if you will. All right. So that's a real powerful way from an authority standpoint. Again, not that you need to use these articles and the exact messaging. I'm giving you a philosophy and a methodology, but certainly I believe ultimately you'll wind up seeing what this app can be the easy button to do all that. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about here is, now that we've gotten to that point, let's move somebody to a call to action, right? What could that be? We think that the broadest sense, especially for realtors, is let's get some meetings booked here, right? And again, do not violate call to action and just go there if you haven't strengthened the relationship and established your credibility first, because it'll cause more harm than good. Okay. But the two levers of influence here that we pull on, the first one is creating consistency, right? And I'll just go down, we'll look at each one of these and we'll talk about it. This particular message and resource, it's designed to induce a realtor to take an initial position that is consistent with the behavior you will later request from them. Kind of like reciprocation, but this is different. We're getting them to we're getting them to digitally commit to something that they're saying. And after making a commitment, and this is the important part, people are more willing to agree with requests in keeping with their prior commitment. Meaning that if I tell Alicia something and then I change my mind about it and she calls me on it, she's like, but you said, like, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to keep my word. We are more concerned with keeping our word as human beings than we are with sometimes of being right. Like, we defend wrong all the time, even in the face of knowing that we're not right. So here's the thing, and this is the big part that, Alicia, you'll talk about a bit. After the how you can get a realtor to really commit to having a call to action with you is using this preloaded survey that we have in here. And I'll pop it up. It comes with a pre-written message, but I'll open up the survey. And again, some of you might have seen this before, but who cares? Because this is the best lead magnet tool that I think that you could have for your business. So imagine, Erin, that you sent the Inman article, and then like a week later, right, you say, hey, let me send over this little, I'm doing some market research, trying to serve the realtors that I do business with better. I know we're not doing business yet, but I would just be curious on what you look for in a good partnership with a mortgage rep. Would you mind taking a minute and filling out this survey for me? Now, look, Alicia, you're going to elaborate on this for me and you'll walk through the questions, but I want you to understand the power of a lead magnet like this for three very specific reasons. The first is exactly what I said. When they answer these questions, they are now committing to a position on something. So later on, you're going to use the responses from this survey to book your meeting, and they are going to meet with you probably 80 to 90% of the time. That's number one. Number two, questions direct the mind. Questions direct the mind. they might not have been thinking about all of this stuff before you started asking them. You are making them aware of things that probably was not at the top of mind for them, but could be important to them. Like if I ask you what color your house is right now, I just hijacked your mind for 2 seconds and you're thinking about the color of your house. Come back to me. You know, I don't want you to be distracted on thinking about that. Right. Then, so that's but then the third component of it is, remember we said one of the key things about prospecting is to gather intel. If you have this information, when you do follow up with that realtor, the way that they are going to, the way that you respond back to them is going to be very different based on how they answer this question. You could have 5 different realtors fill out these questions, totally different. And you should not be the same when you call them back each time. You should be calling them with a different message when you call them back to take action based on that. But had you not had this filled out, you wouldn't necessarily know the best way to respond to them if you're just sending out articles and some of the other pieces of content that we have in there. So this is your ultimate lead magnet that will allow you to get that last step of booking a meeting. So Alicia, do you want to walk through these questions here real quick?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I think is so important is you can use this survey and direct message it via text or social media. However, you can also go to your local realtor board's page and post this, just like Rocco said, hey, I'm doing some market research. I'd really appreciate your feedback. If the realtor fills this out and they're already in your contacts in the app, the bottom will be pre-filled. We'll get to that with their info. But if not, there's a space for them to fill in their info. Guess what? You just got a brand new referral. And now, like Rocco said, you know how to treat them. So we made these questions short and sweet. There's a total of 5, not a lot, 5, not 10, not 15, this is very simple to fill out. So do you have a lender you're actively sending your referrals to? So this can go to a buyer's agent or a listing agent, either way, okay? Because remember, listing agents have deals too. We just don't always think of it like that, but they absolutely do. They have open houses. They have the opportunity to be, to give you the preferred lender, to have the first look at a deal. They know builders, all sorts of stuff. So don't, especially in today's market, don't bypass the listing agents, okay? So do you have a lender you're actively sending your referrals to? Yes or no? Simple. In your opinion, what's the most important aspect of a strong partnership with your lender, right? They could check everything. They could check 1. They could check none. Then you have an opportunity to call and ask them a question, okay? Given the choice, what would be your optimum form of receiving communication from your lender? Okay, how many of you guys ask any of this when you actually get that coffee date? If you're already asking these questions, power to you when you meet them in person. But what if you had this information before you even met with them, right? Everybody knows what the golden rule is. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. The platinum rule is do unto others as they want to be done unto, right? I don't know what the proper English is, but right. So if I ask, so I love phone, like I'm a connector, I'm a people person. When people want to text me, I text me, right? But if this realtor says their number 1 form of communication is text, I'm going to text them until I have a solid relationship with them. And then it's comfortable, right? On the phone. And what better way to text them than through the app? What's your desired level of follow-up from your lender? I want to know everything. I want to know key milestones. Just tell me when we close, right? You've seen it. Realtors want different things. Which of the following best describes the relationship with your last or current lender? I love them. They're okay. I'm looking for a new lender, right? They could also say all, 2 and 3, right? Definitely your opportunity to pick up the phone and make that call. And then again, if you have their contact info in the app and you message this to them directly, it'll already be pre-filled for them. Otherwise, here's more contact info. When they submit it, you'll get the contact information and you'll get the survey from the realtor. So again, you can do one-on-one. You can do I love one-to-many, right? And again, that could be any online social media, right? If you're in a group on LinkedIn or Facebook and it's all realtors or all about real estate or maybe all for investors, right? You could use, there's actually a survey for clients. You could put that in an investor social media. Or for this one in particular with realtors, your local board, like I mentioned, there's so many ways to use this and it's so easy.
So for those of you that are, if it's your first time even seeing this, we've only shown you one little sliver of this app. There there are things for you to cold prospecting up top there. We didn't touch on reaching out cold to people and how and why to do that, because my sense is that there's enough of a, marketable universe to start with, but we can show you how to do that through this app. You have a digital business card on here that you could share with people the same way. There are, if I hit the more button down in the lower right-hand corner, there are long-term email campaigns that you can send out to your realtors. And let me explain to you how something like this works. And then we'll wrap up, because I know we only have a couple minutes. I know we're going to make sure to show people how to get access to it. I hope if everybody in there is maybe wrote down some of those questions. Again, if you're not going to use the app for that survey, come up with something, right? What I wanted you to have a takeaway from there is that there are 3 layers where you should be working at persuade. You're either trying to build a relationship with somebody, you're trying to lower resistance for them doing business with you, or you're trying to move them to a call to action. And inside of each one of those phases, there are levers of influence that can help you do that. This app is preloaded with messaging and content that will allow you to do that quickly. But either way, if you're doing it manually, it's still something that will give you a lot of knowledge, and commit to that prospecting for 45 minutes a day. Because if you do that, you'll have a pipeline that you won't even be able to keep up with. Remember, you're looking to book meetings, of course. You're looking to obviously gather intel about and qualify your realtors who you want to do business with, and don't waste time on those that you don't want to. And then also you want to get to a spot where you're building familiarity with them. But what's going to happen is this, and that's where I'll wrap up here today, Alicia, and we can talk about how to get the app, is that if you are doing 5 to 10 a day instead of 30 apples in one day, right? If you just stay consistent, you're moving people through the process.
I mean, you could do this while if you do a walk in the morning, if you're at the gym and you're cycling, right? Your hands are frayed. Like it doesn't have to be some huge production.
No,
you guys have to sit on boring meetings you don't want to be in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, hey, don't say that. They're gonna start now.
Well, that's the reality. I mean,
in our boring meeting. Let me give this to you all.
Volunteer meeting. So
okay, I got it. So let me just give you. I'm gonna give everybody a good reality check and remind you of the first thing I said. It's going to be boring and mundane. Those who master the mundane and you get into a rhythm of doing it, you're going to succeed. I promise you. But the other part of this is that if you are doing 5 to 10 a day, if you think that they are going to move straight through those manual funnels that we just went over with you, and they're going to land at your coffee date or your Zoom meeting, it's not going to happen that way. What's the reality is going to happen is about 80 to 90% of the time, right? I'm just giving you real numbers here. They're going to stop you somewhere. Somewhere, it might be in build relationship, it might be in the social proof thing, whatever it is. And they're going to say something on the lines of, interesting stuff, Alicia. Sounds good. I'm not saying no, but I'm saying not now. I'm too busy. I've got all these other things happening in my life, in my world, and all my clients. I already have a mortgage person I'm dealing with. That's what you're going to hear 80 to 90% of the time. As long as you're authentic in your communication and your outreach, they're going to be polite about it most of the time. I guarantee that. And what you do from that standpoint is you accept that and say, no problem, Alicia. Permission-based marketing, right? Alicia, no problem. Would it be okay if I stayed in touch with you from time to time with some additional value-add content? That way, if your circumstances change, the deal falls apart, the mortgage broker moves away, quits the business, all these other things that happen, right? And again, I'm just talking about realtors, but we have everything set up here for potential clients, referral partners, the whole thing is in here. But would it be okay if I kept in touch with you from time to time? You're going to get a yes, I'd say 80 to 90% of the time. And here's the value of that, right? That's where these campaigns come in. And I know you all have this is not a CRM, this is a prospecting tool, okay? So this is totally set up in a different capacity. So don't confuse the two. But my point is that you will then move that contact, that realtor who stops you somewhere in the manual funnel steps, and you will put them into a spot where they're going to get followed up with value added message, things like keep an eye on your credit score, consider electric savings tips, things of that nature, and all these messages that are put in front of them. So here's the key. If you are doing 5 to 10 a day in 2 months from now, you can have a couple hundred people, maybe. The ones who are interested right now, and you keep moving through the steps, you can focus your energy where the buying window might be open, or there might be a transaction for you now, without sacrificing the long-term follow-up of those that you still want to stay in front of, right? It sounds simple in nature, but taking action on it is an entirely different story that most people just can't figure out a way to divide the two to get the follow-up right. Bring people through the manual funnel authentically. When they stop you, move them into the automations. Don't do it in reverse, which is what a lot of people do. Let me put you in automations, and then when I need a deal, I'm going to come and try and scramble for you, right? So we're reverse engineering that for everybody here, okay? And so last thing I'll say on it is that, you know, you have a way to manage, obviously, your contacts in the app. There's a lot of coaching that's baked into here. So if you liked what you saw here today from Alicia, in addition to doing these webinars that are open source, there's a plethora of content that's closed only to the community itself of people that are app users, and these type of training nuggets that can help move your business forward are built into the app as well. Again, you don't know what this dashboard means. We're not getting into all that stuff now, but I can promise you to be a part of this and connect with somebody who has the experience and the results that Alicia's gotten. You couldn't be in better hands. So Alicia, if there's anything else you want me to share, I'm happy to. I know you only have a couple of minutes left here, and if there's any questions for me, I'm happy to stay behind and answer some questions for people out there as well. And you could tell people how to maybe to get access to the app and give it a test drive.
Absolutely. So I put loan officer referrals secrets in the chat. You guys can click on that, and that's how you get the app. Right now we're offering that you could test drive it for $1 for 15 days, which is phenomenal. And I will say, you're going to test drive it, start today, start tomorrow with the prospecting, and get your money's worth by all means. And after that, it's $99 a month. For all the premium features, which, like Rocco said, we haven't even scratched the surface of what's available to you. And honestly, to get one new realtor for $99 is, I mean, really.
Some questions coming in. Look, gang, here's the thing is that there is always going to be, there's recorded trainings, and we do boot camps also on live trainings for the app. And here's what I want to try and impress upon you all, that how we go about this. What I said in the very beginning, the tool itself, you can go in, there's an onboarding wizard, and it'll get you in there. But it would be naive of me to think that if you didn't understand everything that I just talked about before, that you'd still find success with the app, even if it's hand holding you through it. Once you understand the concept of being a consistent prospector for 40 to 45 minutes a day, and you'd be willing to do that work, all this is going to do is augment that for you and make it better, easier, and faster for you. Right. So it's so important for us to work on training you how to be prospectors. So then you intuitively, just like the app becomes ingrained in the fiber of your business to make it work. So the answer is yes, Anne Marie, and we do that live. There's stuff in the app as well, and there's onboarding wizard and all that fun stuff. So the notion of the 2 weeks is to, go in there, mess it up a little bit and see what it does, but stay plugged into us, because we're going to stay plugged into you when you have the app, let you know when the next trainings are, and help everybody kind of level up their game with using the tool as well. But promise me this, gang, do not get it confused with a CRM. Okay. This is a prospecting strategic tool, methodology, coaching, and everything. It's totally different, and will bring you past the CRM is the, remember that line I said, gang? Prospecting's up here, sales down here. Your CRM is down here. This is organizing and calming your waters on top. And when you start popping a couple extra deals a month out of it, it'll probably be the best $99 a month that you can spend. So anyway, it was a pleasure being here with you, Alicia, as always, and obviously your group here. You got a great group, it seems.
Yeah, thank you, Rocco. So Carolyn, good point. You own your contacts that are in this, right?
Yeah,
exactly. She brought it up. I say it all the time. It's your clients, and it's your realtors, and it's your prospects and your relationships. So yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Rocco. I appreciate it. If anybody else has any questions, just put them in the chat. Otherwise, I think we're all wrapped up. And again, yeah, so loanofficerreferralsecrets.com. And if you need a code, it's maximized, but you shouldn't need it, but that'll get you going. Thanks so much, everybody. And as always, cheers to your success.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Rocco. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, team.
Happy Friday.